In this episode of the Get to Know OCD podcast, we're going to talk about talking to people about OCD. Talk, talk, talk. Nothing wrong with that, but we don't want to just talk about things. We want to make sure from a therapy point of view, we're also doing things as well. Now, families can be stressors. They may not get what's going on with you. They may not understand. They may even say things, well, just stop it. Stop thinking about it. And you may feel uncomfortable telling people about what's going on. One of the things that I've done, and shameless self-promotion here, but wrote a little book called the OCD Answer Book. And it's a bunch of questions and answers about OCD. And what I did was I asked everyone I knew, what do you want to know about OCD? And they sent me questions and I wrote the answers and we made a book about it. The goal was to have quick, easy, digestible answers about OCD, what it is, how it works, so that anyone could understand it, from people with OCD to friends and families as well. Let me give you a couple of tips that are based on some of the things that were in the book. The first thing would be, well, if we could just stop thinking about something, then there wouldn't be therapists or psychologists or anything like that because nobody would need our help, right? For people who might be able to do that, who might be able to just say to themselves, I don't want to think about that, and they don't anymore, good on them. Wonderful. Very jealous of them, by the way. I don't even know how to do that. If that's a skill that's actually available, that's great. But for the most part, what happens is the more we try not to think of something, well, the more we probably think of it. I always keep my pink elephant close by here. If I tell you not to think of a pink elephant, don't think of any thoughts of pink elephants whatsoever, it's probably hard not to think of a pink elephant then. Our brains work in very interesting ways. The more we try not to think of something, the more we're actually going to think of it. The opposite is actually true. If you want to overcome thinking about something, the best thing to probably do is actually think about it a bunch until you're so bored with it, it just becomes background noise and you really don't have to worry about it so much anymore. For other people, they may say, well, that's weird. I mean, this wasn't in the family. Nobody else has this. Why do you have this? What's wrong? Or maybe they want to blame people. Parents are very good actually at blaming themselves. Oh, I don't know why you have this. What did I do in raising you? What did I do that was wrong? I'm so sorry. It's not a blame game by any means whatsoever. I've never looked at a family of anyone with OCD and pointed to a parent and said, it is all your fault. Even though old therapeutic ideas may have said that it's the moms or the dads or whatever stages of development people were at, we're way past that now and know that we're far beyond those. We have much better ideas now about genetics and environmental stressors and recognize that the development of any mental health condition is a combination of the two. But it's not purely just genetics and it's not purely just environment. It is truly a combination, and therefore it's a waste of time to blame and a much better time to take a look at what can I do to support. If you're a loved one of someone with OCD, there are things that you can actually do to be helpful, and they will be opposite of what you probably right now think would be helpful. It turns out helping somebody with OCD do compulsions is not the helpful thing for the person with OCD because it is the compulsions that maintain the OCD. And this is why working with a therapist and having all sorts of friends and family involved can be amazingly helpful in guiding everybody into what will be best for the person with OCD. If compulsions were actually helpful, we would tell people to do more of them. But that's not what we do in therapy. We work on people doing less and less of them. If you have OCD and you don't know how to tell someone about it, well, you can hand them the OCD answer book, or you can even have them watch this video and maybe they could start to understand that OCD is two things: obsessions, which are thoughts and images and urges that we find to maybe be inappropriate or uncomfortable or intrusive, and we try to make them go away. And we do that by some kind of compulsion. It's a behavior or a mental act that we believe we must do to neutralize that thought or image or urge. And if we don't, something terrible or awful could actually happen, and it would be the fault of the person with OCD for not doing the compulsion that would occur. Now, we know it's not true, but that is the belief. OCD doesn't have to make sense whatsoever, right? OCD is a what if disorder, and we can what if absolutely anything. If you think, if I don't say a certain phrase every day 5 times, that a large building somewhere in the world will collapse. Well, if you say those phrases 5 times a day and no buildings collapse, OCD will say, see, it worked, right? It helped. If you, I tell the story all the time. If you ever go to downtown Chicago and see a person carrying a 40-foot bamboo pole with them and go up to them and say, excuse me, why are you carrying a bamboo pole? And they say, well, it keeps the elephants away. And you say, but there's no elephants in downtown Chicago. They'll say, well, it's because the pole works very well. That is the logic of obsessive compulsive disorder. It does that. And it doesn't match regular logic. No one has ever been able to talk somebody out of OCD, because OCD's logic will always answer whatever answer you have with, yeah, but what if? And then blah, 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 blah. And it will jump to the next worst case scenario. No one with OCD has good case scenarios. I've never treated anybody who said, what if everyone loves me and thinks I'm awesome? That's not what people want therapy for. They're always worried about bad, awful, horrible things and that they might be responsible. It's okay if you don't fully understand what OCD is. We can educate you on that. And it's also all right if your friends or family don't get it too. Bring them along, bring them into therapy sessions. Let us help them understand as well. We can design programs for you so that you can challenge OCD, and we can teach others how to help you challenge OCD and not actually give in to OCD, even if they do it without knowing it. Yes, OCD can be very sneaky and get you to do things for it without you actually knowing that that's what you're doing. We're really good at helping you figure that out and see that so that you don't do that anymore. In the end, I hope you'll be compassionate with yourself and allow yourself to recognize that this was not something you did to yourself. It was not something your parents did to you. It's not something that anybody wanted to have happen. And because of that, there's no reason for any kind of blame whatsoever. Be compassionate toward yourself and allow yourself the grace to get the therapy and the help that you need. Think about, again, sharing this podcast with people. Maybe it will help them get a glimpse into what it's like living with OCD. It can be torturous, right? To truly have your brain tell you things that could be awful and horrible and terrible to so many people, and to get you to believe that they will come true unless you do this thing, well, that's the maniacal aspect of obsessive compulsive disorder. We want you to recognize that OCD is not telling the truth. We want you to recognize that you don't have to do anything OCD wants you to do, and that OCD has actually no predictive powers about what will happen in the world whatsoever. If you want help with that, check us out at nocd.com. A member of our care team will be willing to talk to you to see what's going on and tell you about the work that we can do at NoCD with our expertly trained therapists who use evidence-based treatments to assist and guide you to get OCD out of the driver's seat so that you can take over living the life that you want to live and not the life that OCD wants you to live. We hope you'll check us out. Give a call.